Yeah, our conversations have been really interesting. I think we're kind of coming at similar challenges from different angles. So I'm excited to hopefully start some conversations with all of you. I'm just gonna get going with sharing my slides and I'll hit play. And does it look good still?
Yep.
Sweet. Okay. So thank you again so much. It's great to join you today. I'm pretty new to this community, but it seems really wonderful. And like you all have a lot of great relationships going already and lots of resources to share. So I'm looking forward to more. And I'm really happy that there's events like this. I didn't actually know about SENCER until a couple of years ago, or NCSE either. And so I'm really glad to see more forums for coming together around the role of STEM and science and education in society. So I'm going to talk a little bit about kind of where we're coming at this from. And then I think we'll probably have some time for questions. So hop right into it. So again, my name is Sarah Sanu, and I'm an associate director for capacity building with Compass Science Communication. And as an organization, we want people and nature to thrive together. Like that's what we're trying to do. And we believe that building communication and relationship skills is a key part of making that possible. And we also believe that science has a really important role to play in helping us to understand our decisions and our options. So, the methods we teach at Compass and the tools that we share in our workshops are grounded in our evolving understanding of the science of communication and collaboration. We've learned a lot, and in our team's experiences of creating meaningful learning environments for adults over the past 25 years that we've been around as a nonprofit organization. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about four key principles of our approach to STEM communication. But first, a little bit more background on how we got here. And already we've mentioned Jane Lubchenco, but here she is, a picture of her. So we were founded originally by Dr. Jane Lubchenco and partners with the intention of helping science to better serve society. That was what it was all about. And the social contract for science that Dr. Lubchenco wrote in 1998 was really a call to action. And Compass was a step towards a future where science informs decision making. Since then, we've been working to make sure that scientists are better prepared to communicate what they know in ways that are meaningful and relevant. But on its own, that also isn't enough, right? The culture of science also needs to shift, as Dr. Lubchenco and many others have called for since then. And a really vital part of that shift is how science is shared with the next generation, something you all are really thinking about and working hard on. We all know a STEM literate society is important for addressing the challenges that we're collectively facing. It's not a new idea, but it's still there, still really vital. And the social contract for science was written almost 30 years ago. So, there's always this feeling of why aren't we there yet? Especially when so many folks have been working so hard on this for so long. Well, we all know there's lots of different factors that are at play that we have little to no control over, right? How much funding a program or department gets, which learners are coming to you, when things need to happen in order to meet various benchmarks or requirements. But there are some things that we do have control over. And the biggest thing that we have control over is ourselves. And so that's why at Compass, we're really, as I said before, focusing on building communication and interpersonal skills for people who are sharing science rather than trying to translate science or provide products. We're really focusing on people. Because, and here's the first principle of our approach, strong relationships create conditions for change. We can have all the data and facts in the world, and on their own, they don't change much. It's really the quality of our relationships that influences whether people pay attention to the information that we're sharing. So if we want to change something, we need to have the relationships in place for that change to be an option. And this goes both in formal settings and informal settings, right? We're all here today because we understand the importance of STEM education and the role of STEM educators in creating lifelong learners. STEM educators build the bridges between where learners are and the futures that are possible. And the connections that you form with those learners can change how they feel about STEM topics, right? I was hearing some really great stories of students who are getting excited about things because of the way that you all introduced those topics to them and the activities that you did. So you've got opportunities to help them become lifelong learners, and that is what we all need. And that's why at Compass, again, we're thinking about people. We know how important relationships are for our shared future. We also know that context and communication are necessary for learning. We all have lived experiences that shape how we see the world and how we interact with it, whether you're entering kindergarten, like my kid is, or you're about to retire. We also each have something to contribute as we co-create our shared future together. But we need to be communicating with each other strategically and effectively in order to get anywhere. And that's why our workshops on communication emphasize working to understand the context before you start trying to communicate so that your messages are relevant and meaningful and useful to the people that you want to reach. In our workshops, we don't tell anyone what to say. They decide that for themselves. And one of the ways that they do that, one of the ways they make those decisions, is by identifying their goals for communicating, whatever those might be. We believe that's a really important part of communicating strategically, having a specific goal and audience in mind as you're preparing. There's usually something that you hope will happen after you're communicating with someone. Being more clear with yourself about what that is can help you really prepare more efficiently and be more effective in actually getting to your goal, whether you're trying to create a shared understanding about something, make a decision together, build a relationship. Knowing what it is you're trying to do will help you get there. We also think that there's no one right way to communicate. You have to figure out what works for you and your context and the people you're trying to reach. So every session we do, we provide a variety of tools and frameworks and approaches to try out. Some of our topics are pretty broad, like Intro to Strategic Communication, which is where we share tools like the message box in this picture to help people think through what they want to accomplish and who they want to reach and what they want to say. And all of our workshops are designed to provide lots of opportunities to try things out and get feedback in a supportive and caring environment. Because we know that you can only get so far by talking at someone. You can do a lot more when you're learning with them. And that's why most of the time in our workshops is actually spent on activities and discussions. This is one of the longest lectures I will give this year. And we have everyone bring in their own real life examples to develop during the workshop, something that they really want to practice communicating and get some feedback on so that they can, go forward to meet their communication goals. And at Compass, I feel really fortunate to be part of an experienced and innovative team that has a lot of flexibility to meet our learners where they are and the freedom to create spaces where we can really explore ideas and tools together. We learn from the people in our workshops just as much as they learn from us. And we're really able to facilitate learning rather than being in situations where we need to mandate it. We're really fortunate. We know that too often STEM educators don't always get the support that they need to reach more learners the way that they would like to, though. Right? There's a lot going on in the world. There's conflicting priorities, overfull schedules, resourcing constraints, institutional requirements, publisher parish employment in some places, right? That list goes on. And both educators and learners may be left to sink or to swim on their own. But the real difference between sinking and swimming is a good coach who can meet you where you are and help you achieve your goals. No matter how well someone describes swimming to you, you're not going to be able to just hop in a pool and go. It takes hands-on practice and support to build that skill in those muscles. And even people who've been doing it a long time, even Olympic medalists, still have coaches to help them do their best and achieve their goals. I was actually on swim teams for about 14 years, and it was a really formative experience for me in three key ways. First, I learned to do my personal best and to focus on that rather than being fixated on beating everybody else. Second, I learned to support others through teaching new swimmers, and I became a better swimmer on my own in the process, right? By seeing what worked and what didn't as I was trying to help them learn how. And three, I learned to swim smart rather than just swimming hard. And that saved me from injury and burnout. Now, I never broke any big records or won any major events, but I gained a lot from learning those lessons and having a coach early on that understood that swimming isn't just about winning and who also understood the importance of that relationship, right? When I first had to swim across the deep end on my own, he jumped in and he swam across it with me because I was scared, right? You want someone who's in it with you, supporting you to achieve your goals. And because I had someone like that, I gained lifelong skills and a deep appreciation for something that could have just been another obligation, right? Something that I needed to do. And that relationship made a big difference in my life trajectory. Because once I was able to swim, a whole other part of the world opened up, and I got to do things I'd never have dreamed of otherwise, like snorkel surveys to count fish on research trips in the Bahamas. This is me doing that. Being able to swim gives us the freedom to live on and in the water and the ability to do so more safely. And understanding science gives us the freedom to make more informed decisions about our lives and as a society. So, regardless of whether learners go on to have STEM careers, having a strong foundation in STEM subjects will support them throughout their lives, just like learning how to swim can. But you can't learn to swim without getting in the water. And that can be very scary when you don't have a coach like mine who's willing to get in with you and help you figure it out. People need to be able to try things and get feedback and try again and get more feedback in order to get better at something, whether it's swimming or science or communication. So, as STEM educators and communicators, we need to find ways to make things safe enough for learners to try while still being real and relevant and meaningful. We don't want people to sink as they're trying to learn to swim, but current systems are often set up for that. From weed out intro science classes in undergraduate programs to unpaid internships in high school and college, to the competition for funding, to the publisher parish reward system in academia. And as educators, we also need spaces that are safe enough for us to try things too, and to ask honest questions of each other without fear of failing or falling short. Because if we don't feel safe enough to try new ways of doing things, we aren't going to be able to change what needs changing in STEM education. To encourage lifelong learning, we need to help people use what they've learned in ways that are relevant and meaningful for them, and to keep supporting them as they grow and dive deeper into their specific skills or interests. And that's why at Compass, we also are providing more advanced workshops like Writing with Purpose, where we support people as they build their understanding of the process of more technical writing. And you get to practice editing skills together and think about ways to make sure that what you've written will be meaningful and useful and memorable for readers. There's a lot of courses out there on writing fiction or becoming like a journalist, a science journalist, and those are great. But there's a lot of us out there who just need to be able to write clearly about scientific topics sometimes. So this is trying to meet that need. We also have a workshop on risk communication where we apply science insights on how risk information is processed in the brain to ways to communicate risk more compassionately and meaningfully so that people can better understand their own risk and make more informed decisions about their health and safety in the environment. We have a workshop on navigating conversations where we draw on the fields of psychology, philosophy, and communication studies to help build skills around listening, to understand, coping with conflict, and strengthening our connections during conversations. And strategic presentations, where we cover common do's and don'ts of presenting. But we also go beyond those to share practical applications of adult learning theory for presentations, as well as accessibility considerations and a template for helping get ready for more strategic presentations, kind of walk through steps for preparing. And there will be more because the world keeps changing. And so we are constantly adapting our content and adding new topics around science communication and collaboration to better meet the needs of people we're working with, including folks like you. Because science communication is a lifelong skill. To keep growing over the course of a lifetime, we need to cultivate curiosity. That's our fourth principle. And by that, I do mean that we need to cultivate the curiosity of learners in order to encourage them to make that a lifelong practice for themselves. But I also mean that we need to cultivate our own curiosity about the context that science and STEM topics are being shared in. Both context in terms of how we share science and making sure that our approaches stimulate curiosity rather than stifle it, but also context in terms of who we're sharing science with and what they care about and how what we're sharing is relevant for their lives. And until we're more curious about those things and we're using that curiosity to inform our questions and our methods for sharing science, we're going to keep missing opportunities for science to serve society in meaningful ways. And curiosity is contagious. When you are curious, you help others tap into their own curiosity as well. So, if our goal is to create a society of lifelong learners who are comfortable with science and curious about the world, we know that's not necessarily happening right now at the scale that it needs to. So, we need to get curious about that too, about what works and what doesn't, and what we could do differently. We want to keep striving to get it right together and learn from each other. So, quick summary of our approach to capacity building. We believe that strong relationships create conditions for change. When we feel connected and supported, it's much easier to try on new ideas and ways of doing things. We believe that context and communication are necessary for learning. No one is a blank slate. We need to respect that if we want to be effective at communicating and sharing new information with them. We believe that you can't learn to swim without getting in the water. You have to have opportunities to try things and support to reflect and learn from how it went. And we believe that we need to cultivate curiosity. If we can all get a little more curious, both about others and about what works and what doesn't, that's an important step toward a society of lifelong learners who are comfortable with science and STEM and who are able to use it in their lives to make decisions. Hopefully, we can each think of someone who helped us become a better version of ourselves, whether that was a teacher, a friend, a family member, or a swim coach. Someone who supported us to make progress towards the goals we set for ourselves. Someone who changed the way we saw things without trying to change who we were as a person. Someone who helped us get curious about something. I think a lot of us are probably here because we hope to be someone who provides that kind of support for others. That's a big part of why I do what I do every day. And building our shared understanding of the context and perspectives and needs and options we have as we make decisions about how to share STEM topics with learners will help us to navigate new pathways and possibilities. I think STEM educators and science communicators have a lot to learn from each other. I hope we can continue the conversations and grow together so that science can really serve society in the ethical and reciprocal and impactful ways that we know are possible. So thank you for your time and attention. I'm really grateful for organizations like NCSE and the events that SENCER Summer Institute, where we can come together around these important topics. And if you're curious to learn more and build your communication skills with us, we've got workshops coming up and feel free to use the QR codes to check them out, or I'm happy to answer questions. And hopefully our paths cross again soon. I think we have a little time now, though, if you have questions right off the bat. But yeah,
All
thanks
right,
for listening.